What's up everyone, Andy Cantu here from Lux Travel Hacks. Today I want to show you what to do with 300k or more Chase points. These are ultimate rewards points earned by cards like the Chase Sapphire or the Inks, most of them at least. So any combination of those that you have, this is good. This can also basically apply to Amex points and other Capital One points and things like that that you might have. But specifically today we're going to talk about Chase points. So 300k is about that line where it becomes accessible to do at least 2, sometimes even 3 round-trip business class flights to or from somewhere overseas, right? In today's example, we'll do Europe. This is how I would personally spend them and do something like to Italy, and you can also hop around and do various other spots in Europe. So we're going to look at that. And the more points you have, the merrier, obviously, because then you can do more hotel nights and things like that. But the value is always greatest with flights, so we're going to start with flights. Let's get to it. So this is seats.aero. If you've seen any of my other videos, you've probably seen me use this. If not, this is just an easy, but sometimes overwhelming way to find a lot of points availability all at once. So it searches all the programs and all that. And because we're going to use points the right way, the way Lux Travel Hack strategies teach, which is transferring to partners and not using them through the portal or any pay with points type of setups that the credit card companies might give you, this is what we need to do to find availability quick on a video like this, right? So we're going to go to the search tool, get started. I won't be able to go super deep into it. I just set up a search right now before I clicked record in the interest of time. So you can see here we have all the USA big airports, including some other Canadian ones, some Mexican ones, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. This is just because the USA code here doesn't include them. So I include some of those other ones. It's just like a shortcut code to use. And I'll put all of Europe, which includes also here you can see basically all the big hubs. In fact, I think they just added Milan and Rome to it. So you'll see that I added them on the end there because Italy is, I think, where we should try to go. But they were already in the EUR one. And you can do plus or minus however many days, whatever dates. This is just an example to show you how I would go about spending those kinds of points. And we'll do some hotel examples at the end too. And of course, that's dictated by how many points you might have left over or not. So let's start here. Because I put all of Europe, we're going to get all kinds of stuff. Madrid, London, Rome, Amsterdam, Paris, whatever, right? So we can actually, you can filter lots of different ways. If you're not familiar with this tool, it might take some time to just play with it for a little while. But basically, we can just start by saying like Milan, MXP here, right? So there are lots of routes you can choose from. Europe tends to be pretty easy to get a big value from this amount of points, and just in general. So we can sort it by cheapest here and see that we have a bunch of Montreal to Milan, New York to Milan. I'll take a moment to talk about this because this is one of my favorite routes. This is the New York to Milan, but operated by Emirates. You click the I, you can see here, this is a, oh, it's refreshing. Let me see. Let's pick one that maybe is there already. We'll let it refresh, but let me talk about this for a second. So this is one of their routes that is called a Fifth Freedom route. This is a route that doesn't go to or from that airline's hub city. So in the case of Emirates, all their normal routes are to or from Dubai, right? But then they have some Fifth Freedom routes, like this one, that have nothing to do with Dubai, but they continue on to Dubai in theory. Like they have a fuel stop and continue. Not in theory, I mean, that's what they do. So it's a great opportunity to experience a very nice airline that may not otherwise be in your routes or plans at all. So it's a great option to get to Milan. So if you don't know what that looks like, this is business class on their A380. That's that JFK to Milan flight. So pretty nice, if you ask me. The very nice finishes and the nice food and blah, blah, blah. On the A380, they also have the bar up top for business and first class, so that's pretty cool. And of course, if you want to spend a little cash, you can also upgrade yourself, and sometimes with points too, from business to first, assuming they have seats. That can be done a little bit beforehand or at the desk or whatever. So you could actually sit in the first class suites that they have on their A380, like this one. I believe this is the new one, but similar idea. Like this. So really cool. Yeah, that would be my ideal route of choice. The only issue with this route is that it does tend to be 87,000 points booked directly on Emirates. You can transfer points to Emirates from Chase, Amex, Capital One, whatever. Occasionally, you will find the same exact flight on Air Canada. We can see if it's there by searching what it is, which is JFK to MXP, and then you could put Aeroplan, which is Air Canada's program. You can see it's not there, and if we were to put Emirates, we would find the ones that are there. So it would be 87K if you wanted it in this direction. Otherwise, you could do basically any other Milan flight that lines up for you. If you wanted to do New York, here's one for 70K points. Right here, United, nonstop, 70K points, and that's like $50 US or 60. We can probably get this even cheaper by quoting on other Star Alliance partners, like Life Miles, for example, would charge $63,000 for this. But Life Miles is only from Amex and some other ones. So since today we're talking about Chase specifically, Air Canada would probably be the best way to book this. So it would line up just like this, 70K points. And you can click here to go to the actual site where we would book this. Wait for it to load a bit. In the meantime, I'll close this. Okay. So yeah, 70K, there's 3 seats open. This is business class. For those of you that might not be familiar, business class is lie flat seating, good food, priority boarding, blah, blah, blah. The most important part of all of that is probably the lie flat seating and probably the lounge access, assuming you don't already have a lot of lounge access with other credit cards and things like that. So lie flat seats, massive, massive difference for a basically 8-hour flight instead of, you know, being upright in economy for 8 hours. And of course, the longer the flight, the worse it gets. So you're better off in business or first if you can swing it. Of course, you can pay less, go in economy, whatever. But there's big value to be had around here because the price difference would be pretty big. We can go and look and see New York to Milan. I don't even know what date that was, but we can just pick an example date. Non-stop. So you can see 2 to 3 grand each direction, something like that. So big value to be had, and in economy, much less, 500 bucks. So the price difference is like 4 times, but the points difference is less than 2 times, right? 40, it's not even 80, it's 70, right? So that's why there's kind of outsized value to be had, excuse me, there in those areas in terms of business and first. So that's something to think about. But anyway, that's a great outbound option, or the Emirates ones at 87,000. It's overpaying in my opinion, but it's a great experience. We saw that on the way there, it didn't exist on Air Canada for cheaper, just on Emirates directly. Let's go see if we can pull it up. This was March 4th, same as that one. JFK to Milan, March 4th, business. Let's just see if it's there. Sometimes what happens with Seats Arrow is you'll see that it says like 5 hours ago or whatever, last refresh date, or 1 day, 2 days. So sometimes they'll disappear, they'll come and go, someone books it, someone cancels it, whatever. So you always want to make sure to go confirm that it is there beforehand. I won't get super into the details because the whole idea is just to give you an idea of how I would use these points, but these are important things to touch on, I think. So it's available also in first, which is cool. It says insufficient miles, so it won't let me go past that, but it's available here ready to book. You just have to transfer the miles in and book it. So quite a few options here for the outbound. We have 70K, maybe a little less, and we have 87 for this. And that we just looked at one. Of course, there's, from Montreal also, if we continue, looks like mostly East Coast to Rome. We may find New York and some other ones, DC, stuff like that. And if you're West Coast, then what I would probably suggest would be doing something like LA, San Francisco, and flying to Paris instead, or to London instead. And you can usually find the whole ticket the whole way to Milan, but what I would usually suggest is not even trying to do that, booking just to Paris or London and staying there 2 to 3 nights or whatever, and then just pay cash. It's usually like $100, $150 to go to Milan or wherever in Italy you want to go after that, right? You can fly to Rome, to Milan, maybe to Florence. Those are like the big airports, maybe Venice in some cases. So usually Milan. But anyway, lots of options when it comes to Europe, so a great way to use your points. Outbound, we can do the same search real quick. Inbound, mainly, I am interested in seeing if, oh, and by the way, you can just click here to swap the airports, the reverse. And mainly I'm interested in seeing if that Emirates route is available for cheaper on Air Canada, closer to our target range. And so you guys know the target range would be somewhere between 50 and 70K each way in business class, which we're right on the money right now. But let's see if on the return we can find. So we're going to go straight to it and look. JFK MXP Aeroplan. We can see there are some. That other flight had us leaving March 4th. So we could stay there like 8 days effectively after the one travel day and come back this day. Or if you ended up on a later flight or something, you could take these two return. You can see there are a lot less of them than the actual Emirates ones. Emirates has like what seems like every single day available for a little more points. But if you see it and you can swing the date, you can save 12 or 11,000 points here. So it'd be a good deal. So we can see what this looks like. In like this example, we could maybe come back to 13th. And it would be the same exact flight we just saw on Emirates, but it would be bookable through one of their partners, which is Air Canada. And there are kind of a bunch of different partnerships like this. I go over them in some of the other videos. And of course, I go over them in Lux Travel Hacks. That's my full program. But this is one of the cool ones, is the Air Canada and Emirates partnership. So here it is, 76K instead of 87K. So saves you quite a bunch, especially when considering if it's multiple people or whatever. There's 6 seats here. So if it was 4 of you or something, that's 44,000 difference, right? And even if you then overpaid a little bit on the outbound, 80 whatever thousand, here it's 70, you're at like 150-ish, so you can make it work for 2 people with your 300K points, which was the goal, right? At least 2 people round trip, business class. If you end up paying in the 60s or 70s, then obviously you have a buffer at the 300K mark to have hotel stays and things like that. So anyway, that's what I would do. And let's now look at another tool that I like to use called maxmypoint.com. Oops, maxmypoint.com. And so basically what this does is very similar to Seats Arrow, but for hotels. There's another tool also called rooms.arrow that I haven't really touched on much. It's fairly new, but I use either or. Sometimes I use neither, and I just go look directly if I know exactly what I'm looking for. But anyway, here we could look, and one of my favorite properties is the Vista Palazzo over in Lake Como. That's where I would spend points probably. So to give you an idea what that looks like, let me take you to the actual site. Oh, cool. It is a beautiful, beautiful property. This is the view from the like upstairs terrace / restaurant, whatever. Some of the best food I've ever had in my life. And of course, a beautiful view of Lake Como. It's right here. It's right on the lake. You can see it right there in Como, which is the easiest one to get to. It's just a train from Milan, like 40 minutes or a little bit less. And boom, you're there. So one of my favorite places to go. It tends to be very expensive on cash. So this is a great candidate for using points. So we'll go back to Max My Point and see what dates are available around when we were going. This would actually be perfect, these 6th and 7th in that one example, but you can see they're kind of scattered throughout. So whichever one would line up with the flights that you would choose, you could pick that. And this is a useful tool because it shows you the points rate and also the cash rate, so you can see kind of what that spread is. There tends to be a lot more value in flights than there is in hotels. In this example, it's still pretty good. In terms of cents, to give you an idea, a portal booking that you should never do would give you like 1 cent per point, or 1.2 or 1.5 maybe. So that would mean that these 35K points here, or 40, would be worth $350 to $400, sometimes even a little less. So you can see there's much more value to be had here transferring them, because you're getting $880 plus tax and whatever. So you're getting $900 instead of $350, right? So a big spread. Not as big as flights though, because flights, for example, you can, like, we're spending those 70K points, let's just say, or 60 or whatever, to get a $2,000 to $3,000 flight. So I mean, you can see that, like, if you just added some points here, you're getting a little bit more points used, but a lot more value in flights. So either way, this is still good value. And I mean, if you had the extra points after the 300K to get your 2 flights and some hotel nights, I would definitely come and stay here. It's one of my favorite places ever. And then you could just do the same thing we did with the flights, which would be click here and go to the site directly and make sure that it is available on points. You can see here once it lets you select rooms, it is available. That's it. You just transfer the points in and book. Pretty simple. And that's probably what I would do. The other hotel I would try to stay at with points would be probably the Park Hyatt Milan. It's a super in-demand hotel similar to Vista Palazzo, but they just remodeled it and I haven't been there since then, so it'd be nice to try. So let's go look. March. Oh, great. Literally every single night is available except for a couple. So this tool is great for seeing that like at a glance. So maybe you did the 2 nights in Lake Como, then you come back to Milan, you do another 2 or 3 nights. So you can see here, I don't know what all these rates are because in theory, it's probably like a base room, a suite, and like a different kind of suite. That's what the different colors of the top points mean, but we can go look. So let's click this and go see. So 40K, and it's letting you book into the big suites if you want. If you had status, I wouldn't do this because they would probably do it for you automatically. But if you don't, then you can pay a little bit more and get in there. So 40, 60, or 80, I would just book the 40 for like their normal room. It's still beautiful with a big marble bathroom and everything. This looks even nicer than the original one. And if you untoggle the use point switch, oh, and by the way, I'll show you. This place the location is amazing. It's right by the Galleria, which is this. Yeah, it's another level. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. This is the view from some of the rooms into the Galleria. I mean, it's amazing. Incredible food. Obviously, it's Italy. And if you untoggle the use point switch, you can see the cash rates for everything. So yeah, these are what Maximum Point was showing. Anywhere from 1,200 to 1,300, 1,400 for a normal room. And suites obviously were 1,900 to 2,800, something like that, right? So a massive, massive value to be had here using points, almost even more so than the Vista Palazzo, probably because it's brand new and, or maybe it's the season or the fresh remodel, I don't know. But anyway, that's what I would do. I would either try to do a normal outbound business class flight, as in normal as in not Emirates, right? But still very nice business class, and Emirates on the return using Air Canada. Or any combination of that, and that'll be a great way to use 300 and ish, a little bit more points. The extra points would basically just be used for either more people or for hotel nights. And then sometimes what I do is I'll book the hotel nights that really matter to me, like Vista Palazzo, Park Hyatt Milan, and then fill in the in-between in other cities that may not have a property that I'm super excited about. Instead of using points there, I'll just pay the 200 a night, 150 a night, 300 a night, whatever. And so even though, yes, I might be paying a little cash, at the end of it, maybe I spent $1,000 in cash for a $15,000 to $20,000 trip, right? So a massive, massive discount, effectively, if you want to look at it that way. Basically, you're getting almost everything free. You're just paying like taxes and some room nights and things like that. And you can build a 1-week, 2-person round trip business class trip to Europe / to Italy, like we did in our example, for your 300K-ish chase points. So that's what I would do with them. If you want to learn more about stuff like this, get these strategies in detail, get an A to Z way to do all of this, all the resources are below. Check out my full program, Lux Travel Hacks, and I'll see you in first class.